My little brother woke me up at night and said we need to leave right now. So, we did. The hand on my shoulder was shaking me so hard my teeth rattled, and when I opened my eyes, Caleb's face was inches from mine in the darkness. His eyes were huge and terrified in a way I'd never seen before, not even when he broke his arm falling out of the treehouse when he was 8. "Avery, we have to go right now," he whispered, his voice cracking on every word. "I heard them talking downstairs and they're going to do something really bad and we can't be here when they wake up." I was still half asleep, my brain struggling to process why my 13-year-old brother was in my room at what my clock said was 2:47 a.m. on a Thursday night. I started to tell him to go back to bed, that whatever he heard was probably just a nightmare, but then I saw what he was holding. Our dad's hunting knife, the one he kept locked in the gun safe, was gripped in Caleb's shaking hand with dried blood on the blade. My whole body went cold and I sat up so fast I nearly headbutted him. "Where did you get that? Is that blood? Caleb, what's going on?" He was already moving to my closet, pulling out my backpack and stuffing random clothes into it with movements that were jerky and panicked. "I'll explain when we're safe, but we have maybe an hour before they notice, and if we're still here when they wake up, we're not going to be okay." His voice had this flat certainty that scared me more than the knife or the blood or any of it, because Caleb had always been the dramatic one, the kid who cried when we watched sad movies and got anxious about everything. Seeing him this calm while saying something this terrifying meant whatever he'd seen or heard had broken something fundamental in him. I threw off my blankets and grabbed the backpack from him, my hands shaking as I tried to think clearly through the adrenaline suddenly flooding my system. "Tell me right now what happened or I'm not going anywhere." Caleb's face crumpled for just a second before he forced it back into that scary, calm mask. I woke up to use the bathroom and I heard Mom and Dad talking in the kitchen. They didn't know I was awake. They were talking about how we're getting too old, how we ask too many questions now, how the people they work for said it's time to cut loose ends before we figure things out. His voice dropped even lower and I had to lean in to hear him. "Mom said your name first, Avery. She said you've been asking about why we never visit grandparents or why we don't have any baby pictures from before we moved here. Dad said we could handle it this weekend when we go on that camping trip they've been planning. Make it look like an accident. 2 kids drowned in the lake. Tragic story. Happens all the time." I stared at him, my brain refusing to process what he was saying because parents don't talk about killing their own children. Parents argue about bills and curfews and whose turn it is to do dishes. They don't plan murders. But then I remembered things that had never quite made sense. How we'd moved to this town when I was 6 and Caleb was 3, and Mom and Dad always said we couldn't contact anyone from before because there had been a situation with dangerous people. How they homeschooled us and never let us have friends over or go to other kids' houses. How Dad would disappear for days sometimes and come back with duffel bags full of cash that Mom would count at the kitchen table while we were supposed to be sleeping. How I'd found fake IDs in the garage last year with our parents' faces but different names, and when I asked about them, Dad had gotten this look on his face that made me never bring it up again. All the weird pieces that I'd always told myself had reasonable explanations suddenly rearranged into a picture that made my stomach hurt. "The knife," I whispered, pointing at it with a hand that wouldn't stop shaking. "Why do you have Dad's knife and why is there blood on it?" Caleb's eyes filled with tears, but his voice stayed steady. "I went to the gun safe to get something, anything we could use to protect ourselves if they tried to stop us from leaving, but it was already open and the